Welcome to City Center Community Committee. It's October 27th, 2025. My name is John Orlico. I'll be chairing and being the guy in person today. We just have a few motions to get going forward. I'm not even sure how we do this because Councillor Rollins is asking for a motion to be remote. So I think she'll probably support that, but she doesn't have the motion to be remote yet. So we'll have me, it's not really quorum, but I'm just going to move on that. So because she can't be remote until I make the motions passed, and how am I making a motion pass with one person?
Passage.
Yeah.
But we have quorums, 2 people, so you can pass.
Yeah, we have a letter about me yet. I don't care. We're moving on. So we're going to have I'm going to have a motion right now, just so we can get Councillor Rollins into the meeting. Move to what? What's the right terminology?
Authorized to participate remotely.
That's the one. Authorized. All in favor?
Aye.
Seeing 2 ayes. Thank you. Secondly, we're going to have a motion to provide leave of absence for Councillor Gilmore.
Moved.
So all in support. Great.
Aye.
And the last one was, before I do the acknowledgement, was to add second person to item number 3.
Yes.
For speaking.
So moved.
So moved.
The minutes of the last meeting.
And also to approve the minutes of the last meeting.
So moved.
And good, we're done all the administrative stuff. Okay, so I'd like to acknowledge that we're in Treaty 1 territory, the home of the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Innu, and Dakota peoples in the national homeland of the Red River Métis. Our drinking water comes from Shoal Lake 40 First Nation in Treaty 3 territory. Thank you so much. Okay, so we'll move on. I'm going to move 1 and 2.
We'll have our delegations first.
Oh, sure. Thank you very much.
No
so
problem.
First of all, we're going to have our delegations up. So I think we have Mr. Ryback first, and then you'll be up next. Okay. Oh, Mr. Moore, sorry.
Good morning. Thank you for allowing me to attend. And I am speaking in support of Councillor Rowland's report that this be moved forward for transit and be considered by a Standing Policy Committee of Public Works and beyond. That with my colleague Fred Morris, we've created a petition to request restoration of direct bus service to the Assiniboine Clinic and Grace Hospital, which was provided since 1969. As of this morning, we have 980 signatures. The Assiniboine Clinic is extremely busy. It's a clinic I go to, but it's also a clinic that Ukrainian refugees go for their medical assessments. So you can imagine a newcomer without a vehicle, unfamiliar with the area, having right now be required to either take a transfer or walk a distance to that, or people with mobility issues who are patients of Grace of the clinic. You have to look at our valued hospital workers along with patients and visitors no longer having direct bus service from the West End and downtown to the Grace Hospital. I witnessed a healthcare worker running across the street at midnight at Portage Avenue and Booth Drive in order to wave down a Blue Line bus. And these people are now challenged to make their scheduled shifts, or they're had a very long shift. They're now required to take a transfer and wait, extending their commute times because feeder buses are running every 35 minutes or an unreliable on-request service. And then I also get concerned that when we talk about any changes to the existing service, that right away, let's go to budget review. There's a simple solution to restoring service to Grace Hospital and Assiniboine Clinic, and that's simply by routing the Blue Line St. Norbert bus to go from Portage Avenue to Grace and then back up and provide service to this. It's without a very minimal budget impact. But for the valuable healthcare workers and those people who are going to appointments or being admitted to the Grace or going to visit by the Grace, this service needs to be restored. It is just too valuable, something that was fought for in 1969. Some other examples. I live off of Rouge Road and took the bus Rouge to the University of Manitoba via the Blue Line, which takes you through Portage and Maine. 1 hour and 7 minutes. It would be much more desirable if there was a U of M service that either went down Moray to Grant to Kenaston, or at least Portage Avenue to Kenaston. And just servicing that part of the city. A friend of mine left the St. James Legion on Portage Avenue, which is the east side of St. James, in order to get to Grant and Kenaston. The bus service was the Blue Line, get downtown and transfer to the FX3. The FX3 was 25 minutes late, and yet it's supposed to be a rapid line. Her route was over 1 hour. She chose to take the bus because it was nighttime. A 1 hour bus trip for a 3 kilometer walk if she'd gone over the St. James Bridge down Caniston. And I was with another friend at night at a restaurant near Portage and Westwood. And she lives just right off Broadway in Portage. And she's always familiar with taking the bus. The Blue Line doesn't stop at Portage and Westwood. It was 30 minutes to get a local bus. She ended up taking an Uber home because she couldn't walk the distance, being temporarily disabled at the time. That I believe at the ends of these rapid routes, we could stop more often. When councillor declares that you just need to show up at the route and you'll have a bus in 5 minutes, that's really not sustainable. I've witnessed and been on buses where there's no more than 20 passengers on it, all down Portage Avenue to Portage and Main. But we could have more frequent stops on rapid buses. And an example in St. James, I would recommend bus stops for the Blue Line at Portage and Westwood and at Portage and Sharp. At these locations, there's high-rise apartments. In the popular restaurants, in the case of Portage and Westwood, there's major shopping and a medical clinic and 2 high-rise apartments. And one of them being designated 55 plus. That right now, these areas are not served well by transit. I could also say that it'd be an idea to reinstate some more direct routes out of the neighborhood so that people can get a bus in their neighborhood and have a direct route to downtown. Again, no more of this. But I do encourage you to support the request for Councillor Rowland's request.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you.
No questions?
No questions.
Okay, thank you.
Pretty extensive attachment. Yeah. All right. Call up Mr. Morris.
Okay, thank you very much for this opportunity to speak, and
Yeah.
I'll just, first I want the Councillor Rollins motion to go, not only to Public Works, but pretty soon to City Council, where all the issues can be debated. That's what that note is about. But I'd just like to go a little bit under the history of how we got that bus service to the Grace Hospital. The Grace Hospital opened in 1967, and it became an immediate concern of people walking uphill from, let's say, Portage and Ronald to the front door of the Grace Hospital. And within a couple of years, there's several groups started to advocate for simply having one bus loop up. Well, there was 3 buses on Portage Avenue at the time. One of them could loop up past the door of the Grace Hospital. Similarly, like Mr. Ryback is suggesting now. And one of the groups was the St. James Chamber of Commerce in 1968. They lambasted Metro, who the former government at that time was responsible for transit. And it came up at their AGM in May of 1968, and they pushed for it. There was a petition among the people. We got 9,918 signatures calling for the service to the front door. And the third factor I pointed out in my Canwest story was a legendary St. James political figure, J. Frank Johnston, who was at the time both a St. James alderman and a newly elected member for Sturgeon Creek, advocated, well, why don't we simply loop a bus up to the front door of the hospital? And it happened soon after all these forces came together. They found a way to do it, and people enjoyed it for 56 years. And suddenly it came out of service, ironically, when a mayor from St. James was in the mayor's chair. And now we have the same problems where people have to walk uphill potentially or wait for a transfer for a feeder bus from Portage Avenue in Ronald. Unacceptable. And there are 5 city wards that actually touch Portage Avenue where this would be affected. And I would like to thank Councillor Rollins for supporting this petition. And I would really encourage the other 4 councillors especially the other four councillors whose wards touch on Portage Avenue. And that would be Point Douglas, Daniel Mack, and St. James. And I suppose even Charleswood. I would like to encourage them to support getting the service back to where it should be. And as Mr. Ryback says, we don't have to make major changes to the new plan to do it. I mean, the blue buses are already going down Portage Avenue's frequency, and we could have at least some of them, perhaps all of them, loop up to the hospital, and we would solve this problem. And thank you very much. Any questions?
No, I guess I'm gonna make an assumption, which I probably wouldn't, but first I want to see if Councillor Rollins has any questions.
What's that?
I got first ask.
I'm good.
She's good?
Yeah, okay.
You have forwarded these concerns to the system already though, regardless of the Councillor
No, I'm
Rollins.
pouring them to you.
Well, I mean, there's actually an internal where you're supposed to send it out to transit.
Okay, I'll make sure to send it
Yeah,
to
so
Trent.
you do that as well. I'm not saying you don't do this, but do.
I'll do that as well, yeah.
Perfect.
And I have written one article on it, so.
Yeah, we don't submit those, so we need it into the system. We
Okay.
need them. They're, especially your historical knowledge is full, and as my mom used to say, the filing cabinet must be getting full by now. But you have so much information, so I appreciate you coming today.
There's about 4 filing cabinets, so.
Yeah, how much more you can fit in there, we'll find out. I'm sure you'll keep trying. It's great.
Okay, thank you very much.
Super. Okay.
Okay, any other, thank you
No more
very much.
questions. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so first of all, we have moving on to the agenda, and then there'll be a pause for councillor types till 10:30 to do a hearing. But right now we have 3 items on the agenda. One is a local improvement. Number 1, Councillor Rollins.
Yeah, I'd like to move the local improvement petition, so moved.
All in support? None opposed, none carried. This one is, Council, go ahead. I'll just do it. This one's for a grant. Mostly it's a changing around of a grant. It's been a difficult process, but we're finally getting through this. But again, the grant's already been offered. We had to change the category of the grant to another, from LDR to community funds. So
Yes.
it's all fine. Beautiful boards. I was there this weekend doing the opening. It was gorgeous. And really those ideas of, I wish we had more of them. I wish we were supporting them more. I wish we could do more. These community involved parks where the community comes out and they actually take a lot of ownership of it. And we just try to support them. And so this is where their big ask was to replace the boards that would have been back into Councillor Leipzig's days, would have been leveled. If Tom didn't go out there like our good tree friends and hug the tree, well, he hugged the hockey rink and said, please don't rip it down. And they've taken over ownership. The skate shack is incredible. They have these beautiful stenciling inside of the kids. It's such a warm, welcoming place now. Friday night they were doing, they had the Ducks or whatever, Mighty Ducks movie going on. And then quickly on outside, everybody had little fires going and snacks. And then they watched a baseball game. And so again, I have 2 of these in the neighborhood. And I just want to express how thankful I am for the neighborhood for doing them. But also I really think the city should be leaning hard into empowering community groups to do this kind of same thing, but it is a lot of work, so I thank them. So move the grant.
Can you pass the chair to Councillor Rollins?
Well, I don't need to, do I?
So moved, and I think it'll be unanimous.
Yeah, okay. Yes, support. Good. Vote back to me. Okay, back to me. Councillor Rollins, you want to take this one?
Yes. So the motion is to refer the report to Public Works Standing Policy Committee. As the committee knows, and perhaps those in delegation today, and thank you for coming. I do think that the transit system is fodder for emergency debate. I think that because of the amount of people continuing to come forward to the city that are not being fundamentally heard or responded to, and the healthcare system and the healthcare access and the accessibility of bus stops around our major hospitals is case in point of what is not getting a response. And since the first councillor only meetings that took place months ago now, I, along with Councillor Cindy Gilroy, have been raising the issues around our hospitals. And it didn't take long before pretty much all the hospitals were in contact, whether it was the Health Science Center, which initially was the concern of both Councillor Gilroy and I, which was why we had a initial motion from City Center Community Committee to Public Works that we did not succeed in getting past, meaning we couldn't have a discussion just like this unless we put it on the agenda. Because Public Works and Council and EPC all rejected that motion. So whether it was the Misericordia or Health Science Center, we've been trying to raise this for some time. And what we're hearing from the public and what the public is reporting to Transit to answer my colleague's question is that increased distance between the stop and the medical facility is onerous. In particular, it's physically demanding for seniors or those with mobility challenges. And it is eroding their access to the point where in this report, you'll see a quote from Brenda Catchpole, who's the interim CEO, for instance, of Victoria Hospital, stating that patients and visitors have limited mobility, go figure, to a hospital, and that moving the stop to Pembina adds a significant walk and a net new safety concern for their hospital. And this is similar to what Mr. Morris is echoing and has been since he initiated that petition with Kelly Ryback and over almost 1,000 people now. And if you take into account that a lot of people don't know about petitions, that's a great number of people when you take into account that 600 represents a sample of Winnipeggers. That's a great amount. So, that is also coupled with a whole bunch of residents' concerns. There's a number of stories from a number of sectors, whether it is the nighttime economy, entertainment district, hospitals, or education, that I don't think is getting a good enough response from Transit in a really serious way and in a serious forum like a meeting like this. So this report is to try to do all I can to make sure we're meeting on the things we should be as council, and that we're giving rise to the voice that we can for on behalf of folks that are coming, and not getting that same sort of response when they're sending it in to 311. As a matter of fact, I'm not sure that there is a manner in which we're able to aggregate data on that is sector specific, like mobility issues and hospitals, for instance. So to that end, I want to move a motion to provide the report up to Public Works. Ideally, I will be back in front of Public Works to talk to them about what more and different they can do with the report. So far, every single one of the motions that have been passed have been denied or received as information at Public Works. So I don't have very high expectations, but I do have expectations that there be a record, and this forms a record. So I really want to thank my colleague John Orlico and of course Cindy Gilroy in absentia today for making this happen. And with respect to the motion, I'll get the clerk to read it into the record, and then I'm prepared to move.
Sounds good. Go ahead, Clerk.
Therefore, be it resolved that the City Centre Community Committee recommend to the Standing Policy Committee on Public Works that the Winnipeg Public Service be directed to review the attachment and report back within a certain amount of days.
We said no to the report back. She'll just.
Yeah, the report back would be at Public Works Committee. So, at their next meeting would be fine. So they have another scheduled meeting in November.
November sixth.
But the attachment goes there, but they can't report back.
Yeah, the following meeting, I guess it would be the first meeting in December.
For 20 days? 60,
That would be on December 3rd.
it's 9 days?
Yeah, so the intent would be that they would remove, they would,
Well, they can't. report back 9
they
days.
would review it and then perhaps the department would have a report back. Again, I've been raising these issues for months. There has been no report back formally, in particular on hospitals, and no commitment to call them. And so I think that if I don't ask for a report back, I 100% won't get it. So, you know, under the advisement of the clerk, I'll ask for a report back in 30 days. But
Yeah, we're just working on the date for you, no problem.
Okay.
Go ahead, G.
Did you say 30 days, Counselor?
yeah, that might be simplest.
Okay, so that would be December 3rd meeting. Or what if we just say that the next meeting, the December 3rd meeting of the standing policy?
Yeah, the November 6th meeting, I'd like it on the agenda at Public Works. So I would like the committee to review it. And then, because and then if the department could review it at that December meeting
We can ask,
and report back, that would be great, but I'd like my colleagues to review it.
Report back in
Mhm.
30 days.
they would get it at the November 6th meeting and then
And then decide whether or not they get,
third, if they can, we can
Yeah.
ask if they do.
They're not being able to.
From
Okay.
November 6th to December 3rd would be or January.
All right, again, the 30 days, again, I know what you're doing, it's fine. I just don't want anybody thinking that the report could be done in 30 days.
so, if I may though, I've been raising these since September.
Right, but they have no
Actually, since
direction.
August.
So that's the difference. I know you've been raising it.
Yeah,
You have to sit down and write all this stuff.
yeah, I did sit down and write all of it.
You did, but they didn't. You have to report back to the administration. I don't mind, because we'll see, they can adjust
Pardon
it.
me?
They can adjust it at Public Works, the 30 days. So we'll put the 30 days in there and they can
Yes,
adjust.
they
that.
will receive it as information at Public Works, as they have been.
That's likely that, yeah. Okay, so as recorded, 30 days, so all in support? Aye, ayes? Yep, seen ayes, opposed none, carried, so moved.
And then we'll adjourn the hearing until 10:30, where we come back with the part 2 of closing of a part of Hugo Street North.
Correct. All right, so that's everybody, thank you. Well, thank you much. We're all back together again for a public hearing regarding closing of part of Hugo Street, which is actually not a closing, but we'll talk about that in a sec. Again, I'd like to acknowledge that we're on Treaty 1 territory, the home and the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Innu, and Dakota peoples, and the national homeland of the Red River Métis. Our drinking water is coming from Shoal Lake 40 First Nations and Treaty 3 territory. So thank you very much. So we're ready to go on the public hearing. I'll now pass it over to the clerk.
In accordance with the City of Winnipeg Charter and the Development Procedures Bylaw, the process the committee will follow is the applicant will be heard first, followed by those in support of the application. Next, those registered in opposition are heard, followed by those registered for information. Finally, the applicant may return to speak in rebuttal to comments made. However, no new information is permitted. Please note that when it is your turn, your name will be called. However, you are not obligated to speak. For a more in-depth overview of the public hearing process and other information pertaining to what happens before, during, and after a public hearing, please consult the City Clerk's Department. Please note that all public hearings are recorded and will be part of the public record. Should you have any questions after the hearings have concluded, please contact the City Clerk's Department. Item number 1 is a closing at part of Hugo Street North, adjacent to 670 Cordon Avenue, under file DAC 4 of 2025. The process the committee will follow is the applicant will be heard first, followed by those in support of the application, then those.
Point of procedure.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the clerk is describing a hearing that is in progress. So while the clerk is going over the process, if we were at a starting of the hearing, the applicant has already spoken. So are you going to be reviewing that? Because we're not at the start of a hearing, we're in the process of a hearing, and the applicant had spoken, and I believe we were almost up to the point where we were going to hear motions.
So the community committee had heard this before on,
Yes.
and then you adjourned it for whatever reasons. Laid it over, I guess, adjourned it, but the
Right.
public hearing is still active.
That's right.
Okay,
We're still good.
we're still good.
Yeah.
Clerk says we're still good.
Okay, but the clerk's just reviewing how the applicant will speak first, and the applicant has already spoken.
Yeah, but the public hearing is still open, so they're welcome to speak again.
Okay, so in terms of, are you going to go to them then?
We don't have the applicant registered, but that's the process that we would follow, is the applicant is heard first.
So my understanding is that we don't hear from them again necessarily, because they'd already heard from them. We adjourned the meeting at a particular point in the meeting. And my question, I guess, as a point of procedure is, are we ready for motions?
Proceed.
I guess in my case, I wasn't here for that hearing. So I have not heard the applicant.
We can-
So I actually shouldn't be here at all. Right?
Well, the closing is structured as a public hearing, but it's not defined as a public hearing under the procedure bylaw, so
Okay.
it's structured as such, but.
It's not the same. So if it was a public hearing and I wasn't here for the first public part of the hearing, I couldn't join in now. But since it's a public hearing, that's not really a public hearing, it's a street closure, it's okay.
Yes, the applicant is
Crystal
can speak
clear,
again.
crystal clear. Okay, and in this case, it sounds like there's some different public hearing, like I hear it's coming from Council Rollins. The applicant's not here anyways,
We do have somebody registered in support.
in support of the closing
Yes.
or support of not the closing.
I am the applicant. Oh, I'm sorry, you're the applicant? Okay. So if you,
Okay, so we got right now, what we're hearing for going forward is that the proposed street closing under file number DAC 425 not be proceeded with. That is what we're talking about today. So the applicant,
We're talking with that per report, and if the applicant is here, I'm happy to hear from her, but we adjourned the meeting, and so I just wanted to make sure we weren't wasting time and redoing it all.
I appreciate that. Okay, I think we'll just carry on. If that's okay, Council Rollins, with hearing the applicant again.
Your meeting.
That's okay. All right, thank you. All right, so let's just carry on.
okay.
Thank you, Council Rollins.
So then we can turn it over to the planner for a brief overview.
We got a planner.
We have, yep. Peter?
Well, I'm not the planner, I'm the acting real property officer, and I'm the one who presented the original closing report. It's my understanding you don't want me to reread the report again, so I don't really have much else to add to it.
You're more than welcome to say, you're just an applicant. We determined that you're an applicant again, so you can repeat yourself. You get your 5 minutes
He's part of
Oh.
for your public service. So yeah, if you could give me just maybe a highlight version of what's going on.
Certainly.
I read the report, but I wasn't here present at the last hearing, or not the so-called hearing.
Okay, so Amateur Law, on behalf of Colosseo Ristorante Italiano, has applied to close the portion of Hugo Street south of Cordon Avenue, as shown on miscellaneous plan 16,100/1, which is attached to the report. The purchaser wishes to close and purchase the street to accommodate a patio extending from the existing restaurant. The purchaser has a registered summer patio for the 2025 season. The public service does not support the proposed street closing. Public Works has stated that if the parcel redevelops, they would lose the ability to make future street modifications. It would restrict future use of the right-of-way for wider sidewalks, utility placement, and impact the continuity of the right-of-way. The city's Water and Waste Department objects to the proposed closing, as there is an existing 250 millimeter water main within or immediately adjacent proposed closing area. The city requires space within the right-of-way to excavate down to the water main as required. A little bit of additional information that I have here is that Colosseo Ristorante has received their permanent patio agreement in August of 1990. And the city's real estate branch has no record of a patio prior to 1990. If the closing is approved, the timelines encountered with legal services, negotiating easements would not affect the ability to operate a patio in 2026 and 2027. That pretty much concludes my presentation here, but I'm here to answer any questions you might have.
So I think I got it. I think what you're saying, and to be very simplistically easy, Coliseos wants to take over the road and put more patio space in there. Is that correct?
No,
They just
Why
the
not?
existing patio that they have, they just the extent of it. They would like to close the part that their existing patio is on. Just that part. If you can look at that miscellaneous sketch, it's very self-explanatory, I think.
Please, yeah, thank you. That's good. So the plan. Oh, so they just want a sliver on the sidewalk side.
That's correct. Yeah,
Okay. Okay, so it's not a street closure. But
if I may,
it's a portion of the street.
Portion of the street.
no.
Where's matter? Okay, Councilor Ralt, you'll have a chance.
Yes, words do matter, and I am very frustrated that continuously this is being pinned as a road closure. The footprint of the existing Coliseo patio will not change. And in the report, it is misleading. It is saying that it is a road closure. It's continuously being talked about like that, when the map makes it clearer than the report that it is not a sidewalk or a road closure, that it is the existing Coliseo footprint that has been in place since 1990. So words do matter here, because if you were to read the report, it would suggest that you go north and there would be no sidewalk and it would be some sort of plaza. And you can envision that by the words that are in the report. So I believe this record is largely incorrect when it's down to the paragraphs and the sentences, absolutely accurate when it comes to the map and the report. And that part has not been clarified in the report, but what we're able to do here on the record that will be reflected in the video is to clarify that the map is what is accurate, that the Coliseo footprint that has been on our record since 1990. And the other important point there is it could have been prior to 1990. We just don't have records from then. So, the footprint is what many Winnipeggers have been used to for decades. That's what Coliseo is going for here. It is not a street closure. The part of the underground in that is not insignificant, but that is what the legal work is for. So I do think there's an unfortunate piece here, Councillor Orlico and Mr. Chair, that is found in the report that really bears, it needs to be clarified because it's not a street closure.
You're correct. And when I first read this heading and briefly went over it, I did see the map. I missed it for some reason. Yeah, I was assuming some odd reason that we're even suggesting the idea that we're going to close Hugo Street from Gordon to Jesse there.
Yeah, because that's how it reads.
The map's quite obviously it's not that. Okay, thank you. Next.
Okay, so then we have the applicant up next, Brenda Rodas, and you can come to the end of the table and you'd have 5 minutes to present.
Good evening, everyone.
Good morning. Have you done this before?
Well, this is my second time.
Okay. Oh, I guess you would. Yes, this is number 2.
So
Okay.
it's
Well,
getting exciting.
okay. So the lowdown is you're going to give us 5 minutes. You have 5 minutes to give us a quick overview what you're asking for. Information you've heard that's inaccurate or you want to punctuate, let us know. And then we may ask you questions or we may not. Okay.
I am Brenda Rodas. I'm the owner of Coliseo Restaurante Italiano Inc. at 670 Corn Avenue. I'm here to petition the sale of the patio so that I can build a beautiful patio that my community can enjoy all year round. That's all I'm asking for. It's an existing patio. There's a sidewalk right beside the patio, so we're not closing anything, just like Sherry has clarified.
Okay.
basically, I'm just looking to build a beautiful patio that will increase the traffic on Corridor, bring more business to the businesses, more tax for the city. So I think it's a win-win for all. Thank you for your time.
Any questions, Councilor Rollins?
No,
So let me just get this straight in my head again. So you have a patio existing already. And you want to upgrade the patio?
Correct.
And so why do you need to do this while you already have a patio?
Because I think it needs a renovation so that we can. I think it's time for a change. We need
Oh, I
to,
got that part, but why can't you do that with the existing rights you have already? Why do you need to do the closure?
because I don't own that property. I'm not looking, if I'm going to invest my money, I'd like to own the
So
property.
you invested the money in the patio enough, because that's, without owning it, this is as much as I really put in. But if you want me, if you're interested in putting a lot more money into it, as a fiscal thing, that's not the best idea for us until we actually own the property. Is that correct?
That's how I feel.
Okay, that's fair. Good. Any other further questions? Seeing none, thank you very much.
So we just want to see if there's anybody else registered in support of the application who wants to speak? Anyone in support? Do we have anybody registered in opposition who would like to speak or who hasn't registered? Anyone for information? Seeing none, we can have questions for the public service.
All right, Mr. Public Service Man, do you want to give us anything you've heard that you want to tell us about or where we're off on this? Seems to be a little ambiguity in the report. I'm sure we're like this public hearing, a little bit gray, the terminology, but anything you want to respond to for councillors who need to know?
Well, the process, the closing process is called street closing. So I do understand Councillor Rollins' comment, and it does make sense, but the process is described as street closing. That's why we have the sketch attached, so it actually clarifies which part of the right-of-way is legally getting closed. I'm not a lawyer. I don't really have much else to add to it. It's just the process itself is called street closing, or we have street openings. It could be just a portion like it is in this case. I don't really have much else to add to it.
Councillor Rollins, any questions? I have one.
it perhaps would be good to also, in theory, if this were to be approved, to outline that the proposed street closing and the future street modifications and servicing, in particular water main, that is what is worked out within the legal agreements that follow that take a bit of time. And so it's probably worth talking about if the committee were to approve, contrary to the public service recommendation, let's say, if the public service could outline the next steps, and in particular, how the servicing and more would work and the time it would take.
Any comments, Mr. Administration?
Well, this is just the first step, right? There are more committees to follow up. And if this closing gets approved by council, then the process starts off applying for a development application, which has to run concurrently with the closing. Applicant would negotiate the sale of the property. Once that would be negotiated, they can apply for their development application and then hire a surveyor to produce a plan of closing and plan of consolidation. Development would probably have its own conditions, and at this stage, we are really just having conversation about is the council willing to sell this piece of property and continue in the process.
Okay.
So this process takes, if everything works right, you can get it done within a year, maximum 2 years, including the development application. The closing itself, if approved by council, can be done within a year, probably 6 to 8 months.
Okay. Councillor Rollins, anything else?
Nope.
So my question is, part of this process, I'm assuming, I've seen other applications like this, and the applicant should be aware of that, and they're here today, so she probably know that. If we need to get onto that property to rip out something underneath them, we have an easement agreement or some access agreement, so we can do that, correct?
That's right. And if needed, we have Matthew Nickel here from Water and Waste that can comment on that.
Yeah, we could write that, we could write that in, that'll be in a later date, that is definitely an option we'd be writing into. It's a little risk for the applicant, because if they're gonna put all that money into the building, and then we blow a pipe below it, well, we're gonna get in there and do some damage. But again, we'd have that city need confirmed, so I don't see that being a big problem for us. And it'd be really unfortunate if something does happen. But okay, that's what so the language could be due to make sure that the city does get access to that property if we need to get to our servicing.
That's correct.
All right, I have no other questions. We're good? We're good. Councilor Rollins, you want to take it away?
Oh, we actually have
What?
the applicant wants to return to speak in rebuttal.
Oh, for
Can you
sure.
come to
Applicant,
me?
you want to come back?
I have nothing else.
All right, she's good to go.
Then we can move on to motions.
Moving on to motion, Councilor Rollins, you're up.
I want to move that the proposed street closing as shown in Appendix B diagram be approved.
Okay, so we're voting against the recommendation. And that's fine. So all in support? Aye, opposed, none, carried.
Please note that the committee has made a recommendation on this matter that will now proceed to council.
All right, move to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Adjourned we are. Thank you very much, everybody. Thanks for coming. That's it.
Thank you very much.